and people are sort of scared or apprehensive to reach out because, they think, no, they're too busy, they won't have time, but everyone is thinking the same thing. But it's so important to have those foundations in place because they will affect the outcome.
Welcome, Giselle. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Very, very good. So introduce yourself a bit for the conversation before we get into the dirty details. So.
Okay, so I'm Giselle Borg Olivier. I'm the manager of ZAAR, Crowdfunding Malta, and also FPEI, which is the foundation that effectively runs ZAAR.
Very good. And how did you get into crowdfunding?
Well, as a job, I effectively applied for a vacancy 2021. So bang in the middle of COVID. I was sort of just looking for something new in my life, and I saw the post and I thought, oh, this sounds quite interesting. So, why not? So kind of that's a very, very, I would say, standard way of getting a job.
Okay, so you went through that. And what's your background? So where do you come from prior to obviously getting into ZAAR?
So my background is marketing communications, actually. Okay. I worked in another foundation for 9 years, but that was in financial services, but always on the marketing side of things, marketing, event management. Cool. Yeah, it was good fun, very, very good experience. Made lots of contacts. It was good. I got to sort of travel as well and get some international experience. I've also worked in the language travel industry, so the TEFL industry. I never taught. I was always in the office, but also had another very, very good experience. Again, obviously very international. I have people on Facebook whom I've known in the sense that I met them now, 20 years, I would say.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, that's...
Lifelong connections then.
Yes, pretty much.
So you've traveled around the world, is it?
No, around the world I can't say. Mostly Europe.
Okay.
The only place outside of Europe I've gone is South Africa.
Wow, okay, so that's a decent stretch. Yeah.
Amazing.
South
Beautiful
Africa.
place.
Yeah. It has really nice landscapes and
wine.
Scenes. And wine, yeah. Wine's always a good staple to look for wherever you go, right? That's awesome. It's very good. So what kind of attracted you to the marketing world? So marketing is a very specific skill set that somebody has, and I think it also aligns with personality traits as well, right? So how did you make that connection earlier on in your career?
Well, I studied communications, so kind of that of this set, I would say, the foundation for it. And then I just kind of, I think, used my skill set, as you mentioned, so kind of, I consider myself to be quite organized. I love writing. So even sort of from a content marketing point of view, for me, it comes fairly naturally, we could say, which is why then it's marketing communications and not, for example, marketing for graphic design. That's not my area. I'm not a creative person in that sense. I'm more creative with the written word.
Yeah.
So I think it basically just kind of developed from what I studied, and then obviously I sought opportunities based on that and based on industries that I thought would be interesting and where I could, grow and just sort of make the most of my skills, I suppose.
That's very cool. I relate to it because I really enjoy communication. I did a bit of a sprint in communications when with HSBC before when I started my last role before I left the bank. And it was really fun, like the writing aspect. And again, it's the same as you. Like I'm horrible. I don't get me to design something, but like if I have to type or have to articulate,
exactly,
something cultural or value-driven thing, or tell a story,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
you can make it colorful.
That's
on
it.
paper.
And I remember, and now I'm going to show my age, but I remember Facebook starting out, you know, and sort of in the first Facebook pages and, you know, sort of where it used to ask you, I think to ask you, what are you thinking today?
Yeah, what's on your mind?
What's on your mind? Something like that. You know, and sort of where it was really a big deal, effectively. You know, and social media marketing was something, I would say it's equivalent to perhaps the AI of today, you know, it was literally the flavor of the year, kind of. So it was fun as well to kind of be at the start of that.
Yeah. How alien that world feels like now.
Yes.
It's
you know,
like...
And sites that no longer exist, or they might exist in the...
MySpace, like High Five.
High Five, exactly.
Remember High Five, checking all the birthdays? Like,
yes.
And having it like and then, was it MySpace or High Five where you had your page with the music and the colors and all that stuff? You would go on someone's page and they have like...
I think both of them had
playing
it.
in the background.
Yes.
I think both of them had it, huh?
And blogs.
Yeah.
Where blogs were sort of...
When YouTube came out around the same time, I think, like 2004.
Yeah. But even YouTube, I mean, it's obviously it's changed over the years in the sense of... I think back then it was really just a music repository. And now, I mean, people are obviously using it for many, many more things, which is great.
Yeah, so it's crazy how these platforms have literally shaped the world.
For sure.
I think post 2010 you know, if you ask any kid born in the early 2000s, it's like having a TV, right? It's obvious. It's like TV and Facebook, YouTube and Facebook are just part of the norm of their day-to-day life as well. Like, so, you know, how different life was before that, when you had to, God, like you couldn't find content online as easy, right? Like if you needed something or if you needed to research something before Google and all that, you know, I remember going to the library.
Encarta,
oh my God. You remember Encarta? My God, like Encarta was crazy. That was...
You'd have the CDs and you need to load them.
We're both showing our age here, I think. Even me. Having to do a project and having to go to the library and look up for the books and all that. So,
yes.
But yeah. So, very alien world compared to nowadays.
Now, for sure.
The modern world. I'm not sure which one's better. I think this one is a bit better because you have all that information at your fingertips.
Yeah, but what do people do? They use it to complain.
You have the power of the computing power of that they use to take a man on the moon in your hands, or like hundreds of times that computing power, and you know, you're scrolling TikTok and liking dances and jokes, which is what I do. But no, that's good. Really, really exciting that what you mentioned, you know, the link between the love of the written word and then moving it from your communication into marketing, and then now eventually, obviously, managing ZAAR, which is a Kickstarter, a crowdfunding platform, similar to Kickstarter for our viewers that don't kind of understand what crowdfunding is. So talk to me a bit about ZAAR. So what is kind of ZAAR's target? Like what's the target audience, or what does it aim to achieve? Okay,
so you're very right to mention Kickstarter. In fact, I mean, the business model of Kickstarter and ZAAR are exactly the same. Obviously, our economies of scale very, very different, but we work in exactly the same way. So ZAAR is a reward-based crowdfunding platform and a donation-based crowdfunding platform, meaning that it is effectively not equity, so it's not an investment-based platform. Okay. So when people pledge money, they're not going to get money in return. It's not the kind of platform where you're investing to get a return on your investment in terms of finance. What you will get is a non-financial reward, as you would do if you were on Kickstarter. So typically it's a pre-sales platform, you know, where someone is, you know, selling a product, for example, and you want to be one of the first people to own it. So you're basically buying it very often before it's even made, or made perhaps in mass production. You know, they would have obviously made a prototype, but that is why they are crowdfunding, because they need the money to obviously mass produce a product. So, and when I say mass produce, again, we're not talking in the thousands. They might, I don't know, make, let's say, 100
Creating the distribution network and all that stuff.
Exactly, but you want to be one of those hundreds. And also with crowdfunding, very often the rewards also depend on how much it is you're pledging.
Okay.
So
there's a tiered system?
There's a tiered system, exactly,
That's cool.
because some people might just want to support, so it's, I don't know, let's say €20, and they'll get a small reward. They won't actually get the product, but they might get a small reward. Perhaps they'll get their name mentioned on the website, it could be anything really. And then obviously the higher the reward, the higher the tier, then obviously the higher the reward effectively.
Very cool. And who's it open? So is it limited to anyone in Malta, or so anyone who wants to do a startup, who has a really good idea and has done all the homework and the business model and all that stuff, obviously.
Yes.
not just, hey, can you help me with it? But so anyone who's done their homework and kind of knows where they need to go and that require funding, can they do it through ZAAR?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
They definitely can. What I tell people especially is obviously they need to remember that it is a local platform. So they have to be very sure as to who their target audience is, because obviously ZAAR tends to relate and kind of focus on a target audience. That's not to say you can't get international backers, because ultimately it's online. We have payment gateway systems, so basically anyone with a credit card can obviously pledge.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, our sort of target audience does tend to be localized. So very often we get people who are either doing, let's say, a pilot project or at the very start of their startup journey. So they don't need massive amounts of money. They just need a small amount, let's say, for a project. And they want to test the waters. They want to get market validation. They want to see what the crowd thinks about their product. They're still typically in the very, very early stages. But again, that is the norm. It doesn't mean that everybody falls, within those parameters. But yes, I mean, effectively, anyone who has a legal and good business idea can definitely give it a go.
Okay, very good. So we'll put the link in this bit where we're talking here, Joe. So just to put it into the website. So if there's anyone listening, our viewers are pretty niche, so people that usually tend to want to do something or are interested in doing something. So it's really good. I think it's a really good avenue, and the more exposure we give it, the better, right?
Absolutely.
You mentioned reward and donation based. What's the difference between those two?
So the difference is that basically with a donation, you're not going to get anything in return. Right. You're donating money for a cause.
Okay.
And it's only registered charities or VOs that can fall under the donation-based model, so to speak.
So they need to be like non-profit essentially?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, exactly. Registered with MCVS basically, so local charities. And yes, it's fundraising. You're kind of very stereotypical fundraising, but you're doing it online.
Yeah.
And basically people are donating because they want to support the cause. Reward-based is non-charity, basically. So it could be a business, it could be a creative outlet.
A podcast?
It could be a podcast, absolutely. A research project. I mean, we kind of operate on 4 pillars. So we have business, community, culture, and research. It's just to kind of give it some structure, as it were. But apart from community, the other 3 are reward-based. So, for example, if someone is doing a research project, and for research you typically need some kind of funding. It's usually maybe, well, I don't know, I think it would obviously depend on the kind of research involved. But it's a good way, one, of getting your research out there and sort of having people know, listen, I'm involved in this research, and will you support me? And then they will give a reward based typically on the research, whatever it is, to whoever has supported them. Assuming, and this is very important, assuming that the campaign was successful.
Okay.
Because if the campaign is not successful, so if the campaign doesn't reach its goal, then the people get their money back.
Right. So who sets the goal?
The person who is running the campaign. So the project owner. So if, for example, you are going to set up a crowdfunding campaign for your podcast, and let's say you want to raise €5,000, and you only raise 3, you don't get the 3.
Right, okay, so it's not...
The people will just get their money back.
Okay, so you need to be realistic when setting that goal.
Exactly. And that's it, you need to be realistic. You also need to work at it, because some
Promote
people...
it.
Yes.
But it's the same thing I tell all my guests when they come, all our guests when they come on the show, which is, if you promote the episode, if you're, there's... the podcast is here to educate people and create a library of knowledge for people both locally and internationally, right? But it's also at the same time, it helps boost whoever comes to speak here, right? So
of course.
It's a really good win-win scenario that I find it very useful. Or at least I hope it is. But I tell every guest, and I think I told you as well, like it depends on how you promote the episode. How much you promote the episode is how much the episode is going to do well.
Absolutely, yes. Because
we will do some promotion from our end, obviously, but we're busy creating the backlog of all the episodes, right? So it's a very similar, I guess, behavior.
And ultimately, I know my network and my target audience, so I know the people who are likely going to be interested in either listening to a podcast about crowdfunding or listening to me, whichever way
your audience
goes.
will be interested, absolutely, 100%. And I think even for ZAAR per se, if you're the project manager and you're trying to raise money, no one else is going to put as much passion as you will behind that. The wind behind the sails. Has to come from the person that really cares about that particular project or issue or topic, whatever. Spot on. So no, that makes a lot of sense, right? That's really good.
So, question from my end, right? So, obviously, kind of crowdfunding is a different kind of platform from a normal, increase or gathering of funds. How is kind of marketing different through a crowdfunding platform against a normal marketing kind of campaign?
Well, when you say a normal marketing campaign, I mean, very often, if we're talking reward-based, people would opt for reward-based crowdfunding, either because they're not yet ready to go to the bank, they either wouldn't have the necessary, whatever it is the bank asks for, basically. I think the difference is that you're basically asking people for money. And that kind of takes guts. And you have to kind of put your ego aside. You can't be shy about it. And so you have to really show, like, listen, this is my dream. This is my passion project. Thanks to you, you can help me. And kind of you need to really show that you need people, basically, that you are really relying on people. And I think that is kind of where the difference comes in. There's a bit of an emotional pull, perhaps.
What's the usual reaction to that from your experience of crowdfunding? And then I'll share my experience of doing so. But from the usual crowdfunding experience or within the crowdfunding sphere, what's the usual masses reaction to people asking for funding and support?
It all depends on what the project is and how the project owners marketing it. So, and this is why it's very important that they know who the target audience is. Most people are incredibly happy to help. When it comes to donation, no problem at all. The Maltese are so generous, that it's tug at the heartstrings and they'll give you anything. Look, I've heard both sort of sides of the story. Thankfully, I've heard more the positives and I've seen more the positives because obviously we have had many, many successful campaigns. But I have heard the negative Nancy that has gone, why should I help somebody be successful? and you kind of take a breath inside and you're like, okay, let's not get into an argument here. You're always going to find people like that, and people who kind of, I don't think it's a case of they don't want to help. I think it's just they perhaps don't understand the vulnerability that comes from asking for help.
Yeah, I think it's getting a bit more, God, I'm going to use the word, I hate it. It's getting a bit more normalized in terms of people reaching out to support. I really hate that word.
I'm sorry I used it. I'm sorry.
God, I fucking hate that. But yeah, I mean, I've had similar experience. So I've had similar experience with the podcast, right? For example, when I went from thinking about it, I've been wanting to start a podcast for like years and years and years, and I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. And I think when I went out and me and Lily were sitting, I don't know where we met. I think you came over to my house, something like that. It was a year ago. Literally probably around this time last year. Look at us, we're 26 episodes in, 25 episodes by the time you release. 25. But we've got 26 filmed already with this. And we were thinking, okay, so what do we need to do? And anyway, when I started propagating the fact that this is going to happen and all that, the reaction was very positive. I wasn't asking for money. I was just asking for people like the page, support it, share it with your friends. And then, so I had the people that reacted positively to that. I had people that reacted a bit underhanded comments, oh, look at you, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I had the people that were really supportive, where they would reach out and say, oh, that last episode was really good. And those are like the people that, for me, angels, because they're like, just give you that. And all there is like 3 or 4. There's not many. Obviously, like the podcast isn't worldwide phenomenon just yet. Almost there. No, it's not. But I agree with what you're saying. You're always going to find somebody to hate.
Exactly.
But in my opinion, like even sometimes we have like jabby comments on social media, and I love it. Whenever like I think Joanne messaged me, she's like, "Oh, look at this guy, he left this comment." I was like, "Awesome, let me interact with him," because like when somebody's hating what you're doing, you're probably doing something right as well.
Yes,
at the same time.
Exactly, because the worst thing is indifference.
Yes.
Indifference means that you have not affected me in the least.
Yes.
Which is terrible, you know, because I'd rather be hated or beloved than just meh, you're totally irrelevant.
That's a killer. We had, I think it was with Stephanie Fitteni's episode, we did, who's the CMO of Lineage, so she's a marketing guru, this person. I think we were talking about like the best way to kill someone's social media page is just ignore it, just keep going. Because if you dislike it, if you leave a hateful comment, you're just generating more views for the page in question. So ignoring it is the best thing that you can do if you want to destroy someone's social media activity, essentially. So absolutely, I agree with it. I think it's okay to be like when there are some people that, when you have some haters, it's a good sign. But then I think from a business standpoint, if everyone's telling you that's a shit idea, I think that's time to kind of reevaluate where you're at and change your tactic, right?
Yes. And in fact, I mean, and this is sort of, again, this actually aligns very nicely with crowdfunding campaigns, because obviously not all campaigns are successful. Mm-hmm. But even the unsuccessful ones, you can reevaluate why wasn't it successful. You will always learn something, you know. And there's always, obviously, that element that you can say, I tried, So you try, you learn from it, and then try again. Tweak and try again.
That's so true, especially this year that I've had to experience those ups and downs of entrepreneurship, of self-employment. You tweak, you're constantly adapting, you're constantly changing, you're constantly going back to the drawing board, and then something works, and you think that you've discovered the formula, and then like it just works for that particular niche market that you're trying to penetrate or get into. So absolutely, really good advice. I think the advice is consistent with many guests we have on the show as well, which is if you're not adapting, you're dying, right? Like if you're not growing, you're not really getting any more forward than you were yesterday.
For sure.
Which is something that I see a lot with businesses that tend to fail. Businesses that are doing really well, but they just stick to the,
they know.
Even McDonald's that has the same burger formula for 40, 50 years. They've only just recently changed how many, and they've added onions in the burger or something.
Okay.
But even McDonald's, who has a franchising model, who's very consistent in terms of how they do, and they have the winning formula of how they make their food, they still adapt how they market themselves. They still adapt, how the restaurants are built, and how, they're constantly looking to adapt and change. So if McDonald's has to do it to stay alive, imagine having a really tiny business that's depending on a select audience or a pocket audience in Malta, especially.
That's it. And again, I think the region where you are, or country or whatever it is also very important, because your audience, without your audience, you're just a business without clients, effectively. You could have, the business could still be there, but you really need to speak the language of the people that basically you want as your clients.
And the only way you learn how to speak that language, I think, is through outreach. Like if you're not doing so if you're working a lot on your product, like if you're working really hard on building your platform, your software, whatever, and you're not building a partnership network, you're not building a client network, you're not making your brand known through having discussions, not just through marketing, because then there's the social media marketing and all that stuff, all the branding, that's fine, but having discussions, and you said plucking at the heartstrings and kind of, getting people to know who you are, because you're selling, in early stages of business, I think, you're selling yourself, you're not selling the product.
For sure.
People will buy you. People will buy you as an entrepreneur, as a person. So, absolutely, I think there's that. This is why you're so busy when you're starting a business, because you're working on the product and you need to outreach to clients. You need to build that network. Mm-hmm. So going back to ZAAR, like if you're not doing that, I think you don't expect the crowdfunding to work. ZAAR is not a miracle worker on its own.
No, exactly.
It needs support, right?
For sure, absolutely. No, I tell people, I say, you were responsible for like 90% of the promotion.
Yeah.
It doesn't run itself.
Yeah.
The platform runs, obviously, but the promotion has to come from you.
For sure. What's the usual success rate you have? Like
about 70%.
So that's really good, right? Do you know what Kickstarter is comparison?
No, I don't.
Shall we check?
You can check.
Yeah. Let's see. Success rate. 40%. There you go.
Let's see.
You're one-upping them by 30%.
Especially when you consider, I don't know what the size of their team is, but the size of ZAAR's team is 1.
So it's just you, right?
Just
one-man
me.
show. One-woman show, rather. You're like the one-woman band with all the
yes, exactly. The Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Nice. There you go.
Oh, I love that scene. It's so brilliant.
The guy's still going, 98, and he's like active.
Amazing.
He walks, he dances. He just did a show or something where he tap danced, and he was in the newer Mary Poppins as well.
Yes, of course.
Let's not talk about movies because we can go for hours.
Let's talk about the products that come out from actually like crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I know that I'm seeing that.
So you've brought some goodies as well. So do you want to show us a bit like of the stuff that came out?
Sure. Now, full disclosure, these are not ZAAR goodies in the sense that. So this was my reward. This was the very first crowdfunding campaign that I got involved in, and this was in 2011 or 2012.
Right. Okay.
I'll probably tell you. Let's see. It should say when it was published. The special limited edition first published in 2012. So most likely the campaign ran in 2011. So basically, this is a book by Mrs. Stephen Fry. That's the Twitter alter ego of Stephen Fry, and it's called How to Have an Almost Perfect Marriage. And I love the sort of the little dedication says, "For my dear husband and children, without whom things would have been so much simpler." And I so agree with that.
Yeah.
So basically, I pledged to own this book. I don't recall how much I pledged. I think it might have been maybe £25 because this was on a UK site.
Okay.
And at the back here, there's a list. It's called subscribers, and there is my name over there.
Amazing.
So there's Giselle Borg Olivier. They put me under the O's, not the B's,
Okay.
because obviously for them the last.
Yes. So they thought it was a middle name.
Yes,
not
exactly.
a double-barreled one.
But yes, I mean, I'm in a list of many, many, many people, but I know my name is there, and obviously I got a book out of it as well, which is great.
It's a nice looking book as well. Are you a fan of Stephen Fry then, I would gather?
I am.
He's great, huh?
He's excellent.
He's just one of the greatest. I think he's one of the greatest minds that within our generation,
Yes.
or before that. But him and Hugh Laurie are.
Hugh Laurie,
yeah,
yes. Mind you, there was that whole cohort, the Stephen Fry,
the
Hugh
Blackadder
Laurie,
gang, eh?
and Emma Thompson as well was part of. They all studied
yes.
together. Amazing.
Emma Thompson was good as well.
Yes.
She was in the. I don't know if you've ever watched the Matilda musical.
Yes, of course.
The Tim Minchin.
Yes.
And she was.
She's Mrs. Trunchbull.
She's the Trunchbull. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look at us. Look at that.
Now this is my latest reward. Oops, sorry, let me not
watch the
hit
mic.
the mic.
We don't want any buzzing in the mic because then we'll have a fit.
This actually got last year, and it's a game. It's the game about words, and it's called League of the Lexicon. I'll just show it there.
League of the Lexicon.
Of the Lexicon.
And is this is not ZAAR, is it ZAAR, this one?
No, it's not. This is
It's just an example of a crowdfunded. That's really cool.
This might be Kickstarter, actually. I know that this came from the States.
Yeah, it is Kickstarter, yeah. Joshua Blackburn.
That's him. But again, this is also an example of quite an advanced campaign, quite an advanced product. So, this isn't some guy who kind of did 3 months of work and launched a campaign. You can tell that this is years of progress.
The guy raised £380,000 on a pledge of 7,000. So he did really well.
Yes. And a very, very international campaign. And he, this is the basic model, but then you can buy the, what are they called? Like the expansion decks and that. But I mean, even if you just see the team that's involved, because for some people, they're a solopreneur, basically. But I mean, this guy, there's Joshua Blackburn, but then there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 people just for this game.
Yeah.
So we're talking an advance.
But the packaging is really nice. And
beautiful.
I'm looking at the website on Kickstarter. The one comment they have is from Stephen Fry. Is that where you found it? Did you find it through it?
No, I didn't actually.
Because Stephen Fry left a comment. He was like, a logophile's dream. It's a triumph. And that's the only review they put on the website.
Well, of course. That's quite a testimony.
Listen, if Stephen Fry calls your project a triumph, you're done, right? That's your set.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, they ran a really, really good campaign in that they kept the backers really updated through emails. And then what they did also is they started a mailer, basically, and it's called, well, it's something to do with words, because obviously this is a game about words. So they started a mailer on, words and etymology and sort of not about the game, but a proxy, that would obviously interest the people who have backed their projects. And that's a really...
I might actually buy this. It looks really, really cool. Because it is words based. Oh. Okay, I've got questions like, what does overmorrow mean?
The day after tomorrow.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. There you go.
In fact, it's here, Logophile's Dream. It's a triumph, Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
They've actually put it on their packaging.
Yeah, I'm sure, for sure. If you have Stephen Fry's endorsement. You should.
And they have an
definitely
endorsement
leverage.
from Susie Dent as well.
Okay.
Susie Dent is.
Susie Dent.
She's on Countdown.
Okay. I know who she is.
And she also does a podcast that has just finished. It's called Nothing Rhymes with Purple. And it's also a podcast on etymology, and it's Susie Dent and Giles Brandfirst.
8 out of 10 cats.
Yes, and
That's
8
such
out
a
of
good-
10. That's brilliant.
I love 8 out of 10 cats. Is Jimmy Carr still hosting it?
I think so.
Susie Dent, yeah, I know who she is. Very interesting. So if we're, at a 70% success rate, what's been the biggest success of ZAAR to date?
The biggest one was obviously a community one.
Right.
And that raised... Look, the total amount was about 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, it wasn't all through ZAAR because they did proxy fundraising events. Okay. But what we do is we sort of allow that because ultimately it's all going into the same pot for the same cause. And especially when it's community, you're not going to kind of tell them, listen, don't do your own thing, I mean, if they want to organize a pasta night, sure, go ahead, and we'll put it all in the pot. But we've had sort of the reward base that have hit, 10Ks. I'm trying to think. I mean, the more recent ones have been sort of smaller amounts. When I say small, again, it's in ratio to obviously Malta,
Yeah, I mean, it's a locally driven platform for locally driven businesses and projects, right?
It.
So,
I mean, there was a very interesting campaign where, because of the marketing they got through the campaign, they actually ended up with a business partner.
Okay. Which happens, huh? Which happens.
So, and that's a nice thing about crowdfunding that, yes, obviously your ultimate goal is the money, but there are other benefits to it, And I mean, what I think is a huge benefit nowadays, we're talking before about, the past and now. Now, I mean, data, everybody is sort of wants your data effectively. And when you have a campaign running, you get the data of the people who back you. So that is a database, effectively.
You have your emails, huh?
I mean, okay, you have to obviously do the whole GDPR thing, but ultimately, as long as you get their consent, you can always email them the first time anyway because you need to give them the reward, But that is obviously a very targeted sector of people who like what you do.
And I think on that topic, it's the hardest part to get going when you're wanting to build something that's yours. Apart from because usually the idea comes naturally, right? Because it's built on your life experiences, or it's solving a problem that you found very annoying, and you think that or you're building something that's a passion project, or you're supporting the community. So that's not. I'm not saying that that's easy, but that kind of just comes naturally, and you work at it naturally, right? And you build it. But the hardest part is building the network. And building the network takes contacts. And to get contacts, it's much easier now than it was 20 years ago.
For sure.
I think with access to the internet, everything is just, it's incredibly easy to start up a business.
Yep.
Whether or not it's successful or not, that's another question, because there's so many other factors. There's there's the market, there's competition, there's you as a person, if you're able to market yourself and the company properly, funding and all that stuff. But building the network, I think, is a key challenge that you need to overcome either way, regardless of how good your product is, regardless of how bad your product is, regardless of how good or bad of a marketer you are. Network is key. So having a network, it's interesting. I didn't think of it that way. Having you almost have like a lead generation platform as well through ZAAR.
For sure.
So you have the people that you can use to outreach.
Yes.
Which is very interesting. So that's very cool to have, apart from obviously the funding. So my question is, if I had to if I had to engage with ZAAR and kind of start a crowdfunding process with you, how quickly is the usual turnaround from first contact to actually now appearing on the ZAAR platform and, starting to be able to market it?
I mean, there's the ideal. I would say the ideal is that you have a 3-month planning period before you go live.
Okay.
That's the ideal. Or longer. I think then obviously that depends obviously on what the campaign is.
Yeah.
But I would say 3 months is typically a fair amount of time. Then there's the reality, which is like 2 weeks. Because very often I get people who go, yes, I want to start a campaign like tomorrow. Okay, maybe not. But I can work fast and,
So what do you suggest to anyone listening that maybe would be interested? What do you suggest that someone... Is it advisable to rush to the campaign?
No, it isn't.
Why not?
Because you need to, unless you're at a stage in your business journey, entrepreneurial journey, whatever you want to call it, where you already know sort of who your target market is, what your mission statement is, your tone of voice. If you've got those things already done, then you probably don't need the 3 months, because the 3 months is sort of building that. So you probably don't need the 3 months. But it's so important to have those foundations in place, because they will affect the outcome, the way you speak about your project, the way you, even just things like images or a video, you don't want to rush things, because something rushed looks rushed, and you're going to give off a different vibe than is probably the case, So no, ideally people do take the time to have their artwork in place, their photos in place, they have their 1-minute video pitch ready, their story that's obviously going to appear on the website. They also need to know how much money they want to raise, because you can't leave it open. And as we said before, it's not about just saying, let's, wing it and say that I want 50,000 euro.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors that come into play. And I think, yes, realism is also a bit at the heart of it.
So it's doing that research to understand what do you require.
Yeah.
Getting the business plan underway as well, I think. Like understanding what is the expected earnings. Because I think because you're pitching, right? You're pitching your business to the public.
And to a public whom you don't know. You're not pitching to investors.
Yeah.
You're not pitching to the Dragon's Den kind of thing, where you've basically got 4 people, 5 people, but you know exactly what their interests are and what their strengths
they're looking for.
are. Exactly. You're pitching to kind of the great unknown.
Of course.
Now, so again, it's very important to know whom it is that you want to pitch to, because obviously the words that you use and the graphics that you use are going to, I suppose, apply to perhaps a segment more than another. If you're pitching cookery books, then you're going to have a very, very different appeal, and outlook than if you're doing a video game. Yeah,
and the wording you use and kind of the style of words and kind of the inflection and everything that you need to kind of focus on to, again, get the emotional reaction from people.
That's it. But to go back to the question, if you have all that ready and you come to ZAAR, so basically we'd have a call, an online meeting where I would basically just explain the way things work, and sort of the operations of it all. And in reality, within, I would say 48 hours working days, not the weekend, your campaign can be live, yes. But because it is up to the campaign owner to put their content on the site, You know, it's all done by them. And again, this is one of the things that I say. You are in control of your page. So it's up to you how many words you want to use, how many photos you want to use. Only one video. But, you know, I mean, you are in complete control, which is great. So you don't need to stay waiting for me if you want to edit a sentence. No, you can go ahead and do it. You know,
okay.
so even...
So you're in complete, so you have complete full access to...
Yes.
the page or the profile or the landing page on
Exactly.
ZAAR. Okay.
Exactly.
So people get, so like does a client, so a person, do they have like access to an admin portal for ZAAR? Okay.
Yes,
That's
you just register basically, and you have your username and password, and then you have access basically to, and it's a very straightforward form that you fill in, and then it looks all nice on the front end.
Very good. It's actually really like decently designed, the website as well. It looks really nice.
Thank you.
You have birthday campaigns as well. What's this?
Birthday campaigns is basically very similar to the Facebook birthday campaigns.
Okay.
Raise funds.
That's cool.
The thing is, on Facebook you can't raise funds for local charities. There's only one whom you can raise funds for, and that's because they have offices in England.
Okay.
So we are basically providing local voluntary organizations, whatever they are. They don't necessarily need to be a charity per se. You know, they could be environmental. They could be helping, I don't know, animals, whatever. But we're giving them the chance for people to raise funds on their birthday or during their birthday month for them, you know, for like a good cause. Especially people, you know, where you go like...
Does it need to be, so the birthday campaigns particularly, does it need to be for a registered organization?
Yes,
so it has to be.
It has to be, because the organization needs to approve you as well.
So I'm wondering if we can get you and Anthony together for Jasmine's journey as well, because I don't know if you watched the ad.
Yes, they've done a campaign.
They have as well.
They
Very
did.
good. That's awesome.
2 years ago, I believe, or maybe it was last year.
Yeah, probably last year.
Last year.
She's just over 2 years, I think.
Okay. Yes. No, it was last year.
Yeah. We had an episode with Anthony for Father's Day.
Okay.
Anthony's as an alumni of we're both from we were in the same class in school, so was Larry as well. Okay. We're in the same college in secondary school. And I by chance met him at a conference. And we had to get involved, like to help out. So
yes. No, they had. It was her mother whom sort of was in contact with. But yes, that would work, you know, because obviously we know that it's a legitimate cause.
Yeah, for sure, right, for sure. And I think like something like that would be really, it's not so, because it's not just about the one person that needs the treatment, but it's bringing the knowledge and bringing the equipment needed locally, so they don't have to go to Mexico for the treatment, right? Which is incredibly expensive. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
And it's not just one person; it's a family. Like you're traveling together, you're going there for a month. So it just makes it's a good cause. So we'll try and again we'll include this in the description and promote it as much as we can. So you mentioned earlier you had 4 pillars, right? So which is the business, culture, research, and community. I understand the business aspect. I understand the research, I think, a little bit, the community and the charity aspect. So when we're talking about culture, is this the more artistic?
Yes,
vertical?
Exactly. You understood it as well.
Okay, so I did.
Yes, it's basically exactly. It's people who, you know, are, I don't know, going to publish a book or a game, or going to launch a single, put up a theatre show, for example. We're the New Victorians who had crowdfunded with ZAAR.
Really? Okay, yes. In fact, I think I remember it mentioning it. That's really cool, huh? And I really like their music as well.
Yes.
They've done really well for themselves. Shout out New Victorians.
Yes, absolutely. No, so, you know, there's, it's sort of, that is I would say, the more standard kind of culture. But even, I see so many campaigns that sometimes I lose sense
I
of
can
time.
imagine, yeah, for sure.
But we had a campaign which was about culture, but it straddled culture and community, because it was by a voluntary organization that is the Malta Traditional Boats Association. But they were crowdfunding to restore a very rare Maltese boat called a ferilla.
Okay.
Which is like a long daisa, sort of. So it was a cultural element, because obviously there's, the local, it's Maltese and all that. But they happen to be a VO. But then that's
cool. Ferilla with an E, or no?
They spelled it with an I. So I don't know. I stuck with their spelling.
No, I'm just googling, man.
Apparently there are only like 10
it looks like a lutsu, yeah.
Yes.
But it's like a longer lutsu.
Mm-hmm.
Restoration of a traditional Maltese fishing boat. There it is, ZAAR. Okay.
But you see that is also pretty niche.
Yeah.
But you've got the boating community who might want to support it. But then you have the people who obviously love Maltese stuff, and also vintage Maltese stuff, and kind of that throwback to the heyday.
Yeah, we have some pretty cool artifacts.
So, but again, it's not something that would necessarily apply to everybody. I mean, without wanting to stereotype, but most likely anyone, 25 and under might not be particularly bothered by it. Unless, again, they are aficionados of marine life and boating and all that,
Which is very niche, I think. Because, I feel like our generation is the last that were, insulated. Because then the internet came in.
All generations say that. Our generation is the last.
Well, we're 89, right? So we're
You're 89.
Me and Lelia are 89. So we're in the 89 year. I think Joanne's the same as well. 88. And we were born in the age before the internet, but then we grew up with the internet as well. So we remember the old school stuff.
Yes.
That was very, very exclusive to Malta. Nowadays, I feel like Malta is just the same as everywhere else in terms of how we...
The gentrification
That's
of
it.
life.
That's the word, gentrification. Almost the Americanization of the Western world in general, thanks to the internet. But, we get nostalgia. I think... What's Tefitazza do these digital arts? So Tefitazza was one of the two of the founders of Tefitazza are friends of ours. Were in the same class as well, and we see the bus ticket and all that.
I've got that frame.
Kicks. Have you?
I do.
So it kicks that nostalgia aspect of do you remember that time? But now everything's the same everywhere.
No, it's true. It's true.
What?
Yes.
Oh yeah, shit. That's right. We'll try and take a picture of it or show it in the podcast studio, because I don't think it's visible here.
No, not really.
No, we can't see it. So I think just driving on that nostalgia, and nostalgia's been really overutilized in the last 5-6 years. I think they've just tried to, even with movies and all that, And you know what? I keep going as well, because I've just watched Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the same. It's just tons of nostalgia launched at you for 2 hours and a half.
I've just started Deadpool 1. I'm really backwards.
You're in for a treat.
No,
yes,
I know,
yes.
And I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan.
Yeah, he's same. he's incredible. And the last one was I went to watch it last weekend.
Okay.
It's the best one out of the 3, I think.
Okay.
And the first one was pretty damn good. The second one's great, but it was. It's always the sequel is always not. It can never reach the expectation. But the third one, chef's kiss. Everything was perfect. A lot of nods, a lot of.
I heard there's a lot of sort of
cameos.
And references. So
yes,
you really need to know the Marvel world. So if you want to get the references.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you need to be. To be fair, if you like Deadpool, you probably are already someone that knows about Marvel, because Deadpool isn't wasn't. No. It is now, but it wasn't as mainstream as everyone.
No, exactly. Exactly.
But then you get like the Deadpool core and stuff like that, and then, you know, if I'm spoiling it, tough. The internet spoiled it anyway. But
I only know the Heinz ketchup versus mustard advert. Did you see that? So clever.
Cool. Yeah, the marketing, I think.
So
Then it was saying the marketing that they did was insane. Like, it's just in your face. But to be fair, highest grossing R-rated movie ever.
Oh wow.
So far, 250 million opening
very
weekend.
Impressive.
Yeah. They've done
because again, quite niche.
But you know what? Ryan Reynolds has poured his heart. He's completely, because he funded the Deadpool 1 like by himself.
Yes, I read
it was
that.
Fox News that took over. Sorry, not Fox News. Fox Network that took Deadpool 1. But now after Deadpool 2, the MCU bought it over. So now it's connecting everything with the MCU, right?
Okay.
And they bought X-Men as well, so now they're connecting Wolverine with it. So it's just, I'm not going to talk too much about Marvel because people will just probably tune out at this point.
Back to crowdfunding.
But like, it is essentially like something like that. That's essentially, he did crowdfunded based on his network. So he's calling people up and like, be part of my movie. Obviously, it's Ryan Reynolds. You're not going to like just say no. You're going to listen to him and understand. But going back to what we were talking about, this guy solely created this franchise through his passion.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And again, it does.
And he just drove it and he marketed it himself. Obviously, you know, it helps when you have many millions of dollars in your bank account. But he put his heart and soul in it, and then it was a success, you know. And at first, it was always going to not work or you know, on and off. Mm-hmm. So going back to crowdfunding, I think, yeah, absolutely. Like, you need to have a good product that you believe in, that you're having the passion, and you shan't be scared of reaching out and speaking to people.
Yes, no, that's it, you know. And I mean, again, recently we had a campaign, and it was very, very local because it was on silver filigree, very lovely, you know. But they worked so damn hard on it, you know, and they were successful, you know. But at the sort of after the campaign, they were like, "That was a lot of work." I said, "Yes, it is." And again, then it all depends on how large your network is, how perhaps influential you are, in a way how well you're able to sell. You know, sell yourself, sell your idea,
everything
sell your
sales,
product. Right? It is. And this is why you can't be shy. And this is also why you have to kind of ignore the haters who'll be like, I'm not going to help you.
People will hate all the time. I mean, if you worry about what other people think, I think, which as somebody who worries about a lot what other people think, a bit less and less as I get older. I care much less now that I cared 10 years ago.
That's what I can assure you.
I think it's just something that as you get older, you're just like, who gives a fuck? I don't care.
Exactly.
You do whatever.
Exactly.
But
you do you.
Yeah. If you're just gonna worry, like, the thing is that's what I tell, you know, that's what the way I think about it is, like, there's always going to be somebody. There's this meme right now about the Olympics where somebody fumbles a landing in the gymnastics, right? So these are Olympic level athletes that they've trained all their life, and they try something to break a record, and maybe they don't get the landing properly. And there's this running meme online where it's a video, and they get somebody like barely not stick the landing properly.
The guy on the fence?
And then like a really fat guy on the couch eating nachos, and like, what a fucking loser, you know, like, because you're always going to find haters, regardless of how good and excellent you are at what you do.
Yes.
You're always going to find somebody sitting on the couch eating nachos telling you you're doing it wrong. The answer to that is, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Which is nothing. You know,
For sure.
And I think, as you said, I'd rather, personally, I made that decision earlier this year, which is I'd rather chase my dreams and do something that I fail at than never do anything at all.
Of course.
And carry that what if for the rest of your life.
That's it.
So, you know, ZAAR is a perfect opportunity to do it.
Absolutely.
We might see Growuppodcast on there.
I hope so. No, I mean,
by our cameras, so we can improve the level of quality we deliver.
Why not? Yeah. I mean, it really is sort of about helping people ultimately, you know. And I think the fact that we are reward based shows it at even more. You know, we're not there to mean, I have nothing against equity crowdfunding, don't get me wrong, and
Of
it's helped
course.
many, many, many people. But we're about sort of really the passion projects,
Yeah.
you know.
And I see there's quite a bit. You've got 25 pages of projects right now that are running.
Well, ZAAR has
on the
been
website.
around since 2016.
Good job.
So-
It's doing well, and I hope it does more. Anything we can do to put it out there, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
we'll definitely support. That's very good. So I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about ZAAR in particular? We put the contacts and stuff to
Yes,
reach out.
okay.
I
I would just tell people sort of don't be scared of the unknown, because I've come across people. There are sort of two barriers. The barrier of I don't know what ZAAR is. Okay, fair enough. But then there's the barrier of I don't know what crowdfunding is, which is obviously like the foundation, you know. So if you don't know what crowdfunding is, you definitely don't know what ZAAR is.
Yeah.
You know, and sort of then you kind of explain it to people, and they're a bit sort of overwhelmed and a bit like, oh, I'm not too sure about that. But again, it's such a safe space, you know.
You're not giving anything from your business away, right?
No, exactly. And this is why I think it's nice, the fact that, one, there's that personal touch, because literally I have a call with everyone, and I'm you know, there throughout sort of the campaign journey, and I'm helping them, you know, so just a bot. There's the local element that I think helps people to kind of feel a bit more secure, perhaps. And it's, if it needs to be a trial, let it be a trial, you know. I mean, it's not that nothing can go wrong, but as I said before, you're going to learn something, you know.
Yeah.
So sort of don't let the unknown scare you.
You're A/B testing at the end of the day, right?
Yes,
So you're
yes,
just
yes.
saying, okay, let's try this approach. Okay, this worked. This didn't work.
Exactly.
Let's drop what didn't and keep what did, right? And
That's
build on top of
it.
it.
That's it.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
And also, it doesn't cost anything to run a campaign. We don't.
You have a success fee.
We have a
with,
success
like
fee,
a
exactly.
commission or something. Yeah.
Yes, so it's only if the campaign is successful that we get paid, so to speak.
Yeah.
So there's no output. So if it's not successful, you've literally lost nothing apart from some time.
But really, that time is gained. You're gaining lessons and experience as well,
Yes,
right? So
yes, for sure.
It's just it's a mindset shift that everyone has to go through when they move, especially somebody who's come from the employment world into the entrepreneurial world.
Yes.
It's a big mindset shift that, you know, I had to go through it. Many others have done it before me. Many others will do it after me. So
Yeah.
it's just moving away from that safety net of,
Of course.
you know, I've got my salary coming in and all that, but moving to, okay, I'm going to invest my time, I'm going to invest my money essentially sometimes, because pretty sure there is quite especially if you're bootstrapping a startup,
Yeah.
a lot of the time you're investing your money and, you know, close family and friends. But then you're learning, and I think it's the stopping that fails the business.
Yes.
We talked about it last episode with Stefan, I think. It's just when you stop is when you give up, because otherwise if you just keep going, at some point something is going to work out.
Well, yes, I mean, I think
Law of averages, right?
that's, and I think we've all sort of read the stories of the people, like, I think it was Vera Wang, who actually got successful at the age of something like 63.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, there's all these, you know, stories
Wang.
around, and I always say that the Forbes under 30 list is not that great. I'd rather know of the people who kept going and, you know, didn't give up.
Yeah, there's like the Colonel Sanders from KFC. He got like, I think he opened KFC in his 60s or something.
That's it, you see.
Because he had many failed businesses and he just kept going.
That's it.
So no, it makes sense, and I think it's just getting easier and easier to do this stuff as technology grows and drives, right? So that's the aim of this podcast and this network that we're building, is to just encourage people to not stop them, to limit themselves to
just to improve the mindset, I think, you know, and have that growth mindset, and know that sort of the more you try, the better your chances of succeeding.
Exactly. No, so thank you very much for sharing all of that, Giselle. I think it's a really cool platform. I'm very, very, like I said when we met earlier last week, I think I'm very happy that you reached out because it taught me about ZAAR and like, you know, the great work that you're all doing and supporting the Maltese community and even outside of our shores as well, because I know that there are some communities that not necessarily just support local. So we will, as I said, we'll share all the socials. You know, guys, anyone who's listening, check it out. See if there's any project that you are passionate about supporting. And if not, you know, when you want to start your own business, go to ZAAR. Right?
Absolutely.
So before we wrap the program, we have two things. So our lovely sponsors at Bookia and Tableo. I'm going to cover the QR code. It's a €50 voucher when you use your next Bookia, so to book a restaurant
lovely.
or anything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to our sponsors from
How
Tableo and
nice.
Bookia,
Thank you.
who are providing it to our guests. And before you leave, the other thing is we always ask our guests to, if you had the whole world listening, what's the message you would deliver to the world? So if you had one opportunity.
I feel like Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, so it is practically, yeah. It is that
so I
same.
shouldn't say world peace.
No, you can, but I mean,
But no.
it's not even realistic
Cringe.
anymore. Yeah, it's pretty cringe. We used to say that, but now it's
Passé. Again, I'm showing my age, aren't
yeah.
I? The message I would want to pass on, I think, would be, wow, God, this is pressure. I have so many messages going through my mind.
No, that's okay.
The first one, I think, so perhaps I should go with that one, is be authentic.
Okay.
I think we have. Okay, I'm gonna be a little of a story. Sorry, I keep hitting the wire.
It's okay.
There's something going on. I think it's like a campaign on UK TV called "Have a Date with Your Mate." And apparently it came from some research that there are many lonely people around. And people are sort of scared or apprehensive to reach out because, you know, they think, no, they're too busy, they won't have time. But everyone is thinking the same thing. So everyone is thinking that everyone else is too busy. But actually, everyone wants someone to reach out to them, you know, and say, let's go have a coffee. So I just say, you know, be authentic to yourself and know what it is that you want and don't be scared to reach out. And yes, go for a date with your mate.
We've had some really interesting messages the last 5 or 6 episodes. Because I think we had a period where we had very similar messages, but the last 5 or 6 have been very unique and very specific. And I love this one, particularly, be authentic. You're right. Like, just go and we're social creatures. Like, everyone's craving to be social. And the world's getting faster and faster. And with social media, you know, not social media, with the internet it's so easy to access everything that we tend to overlook the social needs. And we are just monkeys with clothes at the end of the day. We need our tribe.
And I think even there's this sort of need for validation. So everyone's always uploading stuff to try and, you know, look how busy I am. Look, I'm planting a tree. Look, I'm making a cup of coffee. Look, I'm having a pancake. But I'm doing it all alone.
Yeah.
You know. But we don't show that. So people just think, oh, what a nice coffee. Probably she's with a group of girls, you know.
You know what I did this weekend, and I hadn't done it, is I took my daughter to a McDonald's. Because we usually, what do you do with McDonald's these days? You order, right? So very rarely do we actually go in there. So I just took, and then we played in the little play area as well. Like, it reminded me of when we were a kid. You know, going in the Bujubba one, which had like the big swings.
Yes.
That was awesome. Like. But 90s McDonald's hit different. They had like, the restaurants were pretty. But yeah, so like just doing stuff that's genuine with other people and connecting and spending that quality time and just switching off from everything else is so important. But good message. Very, very authentic message. Thank you very much. So listen, now, thanks for coming. We wish you all the best. We wish ZAAR all the best as well.
Thank you.
Guys, links in the description for anyone that is interested or, you know, just checking out what projects there are. Follow the links in the description. We'll have some links on the screen as well. We'll overlay some other stuff. And thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this. It was great.
Amazing. Very good.